Boss, imagine you want to start a cargo van business, right? And you have everything ready, but the only problem is you are looking for a loan, a business loan. Let's have a conversation about that because if you don't have the proper funding, you'll never actually will be able to deploy your expertise or your skill set. Okay, so here are the steps I really want you to pay attention to. Number one, I don't care whatever before you do anything, boss, you need to sit down and determine how much you need because we see a lot of cargo van owner operators, sprinter van owner operators in the industry. They want a business loan, but they have no idea how much they really need. Like when you ask them, they say, "Well, I think I need 50 grand or I need 100 grand." Boss, this is not good. This is not good enough. You need to sit down and you need to write down in Excel or on a piece of paper or on an app on a mobile phone. You have to write down the different expenses that make up the amount that you need. How much you need? Do you need 43,000? Do you need 50,000? Do you need 75,000? This is really important, okay? Because you need to identify the why behind your cargo van business loan. Because sometimes when we talk about cargo van business loan, everybody thinks that you will need the loan to only buy a van. No, boss, no. You can get a loan to actually establish your business, right? Because a cargo van business is still a business, by the way, right? You're gonna need things like office supplies. You're gonna need things like equipment, like besides the car itself, but besides the van itself, the vehicle itself, you have ancillary things such as equipment. Okay, you have the ropes, everything like the safety gears. So what I'm trying to say here is, boss, there is a constellation of things that are important in your cargo van business. So if you are a newbie, if you're sitting there listening to me and you are contemplating starting a cargo van business, I want you to really sit down and really write down. Like you need to write down how much you really need. And I'm not asking you to give me like a random number. Don't you trying to razzle dazzle me by telling me, hey, I think, the worst, the worst is when you ask a cargo van, like a newbie owner operator, how much you need, and they give you a range. That's so bad. That's really bad. You never want to have a range because if you tell a lender that, I probably will be good between, if you give me 25 grand to between 25 and 75, I'm all right. This is not professional. You want to give a definite number to the lender. You say, listen, I need $55,000. I need $65,000. That's solid. That's professional. Okay. Boss, by the way, welcome back to the show. I really appreciate having you here into this conversation. So the first thing I want you to do, if you're trying to have a new, like a cargo van business loan for your new startup, determine how much you need. That's the very first thing. Second thing, you need to understand your cargo van business's needs, the needs. Okay. See, the whole thing here is that you are going to participate, like you are going to get into a very competitive markets. We hear every time let's say in the news or in our comment section, people say, well, rates are going low, rates are going down. Cargo van was pretty good back in the days, or sprinter van was pretty good back in the days. That's just bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm telling you. You know why? Because people are still banking. People are making bank in this industry right now. People are generating revenue. And I'm not talking about revenue like small ass revenue. I'm speaking about big ass revenue. I'm speaking about, sizable revenue. Okay. So the thing here is that you need to position yourself. So when we talk about understanding your cargo van business's needs, you have to think about, like, do you need to purchase equipment? You got to think about working capital. See, that's what I was just telling you. I was just talking to you earlier. When we talk about getting a loan for a cargo van business, it's not just for the vehicle. I want to insist on that because we always hear, owner operators, yeah, I need cash for my vehicle. But what about your working capital? Because see, you driving, you hauling loads here and there, but who is paying your salary? You need a salary, boss. Who's going to take care of your family? Who's going to put food on the table for the children if you're not paying a salary? You have to actually allocate a certain salary to yourself. This is a business, but you need to be paid. You're not working for free. Okay, so this is really important to really have a clear idea about that. So when we talk about a cargo van business, you can use the cash for a lot of things. Purchasing equipment, you can use it for working capital, for purchasing property. Yeah, if you need to actually move into a larger office, listen, you're not working to be poor, you're working to expand. So if the good Lord allows you to have to be in a position where you can afford a bigger office, why not? I mean, you're not going to always work from home from your basement. Okay, you can also use the cash to refinance a current loan or a business expansion. You can do a lot of stuff, boss. So let me quickly remind you of today's topic. I'm talking to you about how to get a loan for a new cargo van business. Okay. And the third thing you want to do here is to determine how much you can borrow. See, the whole thing is it's not just about, hey, listen, I want this. Okay. You want to borrow 50 grand. Okay. Can you afford repaying the 50 grand over 5 years? Are you generating enough revenue to have the cash flow that is needed to repay that loan? Boss, think about that. The fourth thing I want you to think about is to look for eligibility requirements. Boss, see, the whole thing here is that your cargo van is a startup. Your cargo van business is a startup, right? But you probably have some experience. Who knows? You probably have some experience in the industry. I mean, you probably have been thinking about it for a while now. You wanted to actually jump right in. Okay, you think you're ready now. Okay, that's cool. Okay, but whether you go, like, if you go to a regular, like a bank or credit union for your cargo van business, or you go to a specialized lender, you always want to ask them about their eligibility requirements. Okay, you ask them point blank, what are their eligibility requirements in terms of a FICO score, in terms of time in business, in terms of annual revenue, in terms of collateral or personal guarantee. Normally, if you play your cards right, you don't have to pledge any collateral. You don't have to pledge any personal guarantee. You might have to pledge any collateral at the business level, but don't pledge anything at the personal level. Like, you really want to divorce. You need to separate. You need to segregate your personal affairs from your cargo van business's affairs. This is important, okay? So when we talk about looking into eligibility requirements, credit score, check. Time in business, the time in business could be 3 months, can be 6 months, okay? Some banks want you to be in business for 6 months. So remember, you are still considered a startup, technically a startup, if you have been in business for less than a year, okay? So if your cargo van has been in business for less than a year, you could still qualify as a startup. And annual revenue, you don't have revenue, no problem. You can have something called projections. You can project how much you think you can actually generate from loads that you will be hauling in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, in the next year. So you can do quarterly projections, you can do 6 months projections, you can do annual projections. Okay, you can even do like 5-year projections. Okay, so look into eligibility requirements. You want to check your personal and business credit. If you are new in this industry, you probably don't have any business credit yet, right? So your paydesk score is not established yet, but your personal score is there. So, boss, what is your FICO? Where are you at? So think about that. What you want to do here is to research the types of cargo van business loans that are available. See, the whole thing here is that if you are a cargo van, if you're a new cargo van business, if you're a startup, and you are, depending upon your legal structure, whether you are an owner operator, single member LLC, or you're a multi-member LLC. In other words, you have banded with other players in the industry, sort of. So you co-founded the company. Okay, depending on that, depending on that arrangement, that legal arrangement, there will be some loans that will be more interesting for you. Okay, it's really important to understand that when we speak about cargo van and the types of loans that are available, everything depends on geography. Because see, the cargo van business, or a sprinter van business, or delivery van business, not delivery business in general, it's very, very, very geographic. Like, if you have a business in New York, let's say you have a business in Brooklyn, a lender will actually consider your loan application based on that geography, because the lender knows that if you are in Brooklyn versus you are in Mount Vernon, like upstate New York, or like you are in Albany, upstate New York rather, or you are like the lender knows all these things. So it's very, very geographic. Okay, so when we talk about the types of loans that are available for your new cargo van, you have term loans, equipment loans, you have startup loans, purely startup loans. You can qualify for SBA loans, cash advances, invoice financing, and line of credit. Okay, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. What are we talking about? We are talking about cargo van business, how to get a loan for a new business, how to actually how to get started. Okay, and it's really important to understand when we talk about the types of business loans available. Make sure that you always get a loan. You always have to apply for more money than you really need. What I'm trying to say, I'm not saying that you have to apply for way more, but you got to give yourself a little room for breathing. Why? Because see, when you start, when you have a startup, when you have a cargo van business startup, there will be moments where like there will be dry moments, there'll be dry spells. Like you go on load bars and then you apply everywhere, and your ass ain't getting nothing. It happens. You're new. You're a new kid on the block. Nobody trusts you, and it takes time for you to actually get some traction. Okay, the momentum will come, but you gotta hang in there. Okay, so those first 3 months where no revenue is coming in, who's gonna pay the bills, or how are you gonna pay the bills? Unless you have personal savings, you're not gonna survive, boss. This is why whenever you apply for a loan, make sure you have a little room for for breathing. That's what we call it, a little room for breathing. Boss, imagine you want to start a cargo van business, right? One thing I want you to do right now is to also explore available lenders. So if you are trying to get a loan, you want to get a loan for your new cargo van business, you need to actually understand that there are many players in the industry, depending on your geography. Again, going back to what I said about geography. So to go back to my earlier example, if you are in Brooklyn, you are going to deal with some banks and credit unions that may be different from if you were in Toledo or you were in somewhere in Tallahassee, Florida, for example. Okay, so generally there are three types. There are three or four types of lenders when it comes to cargo van businesses. So you have the traditional lenders, your banks, your credit unions. Number one, number two, you have online lenders. Okay, and so those you can find them in many places, including on sites such as NBC, National Business Capital, or Lendio. Those are lending platforms like loan marketplaces. You can find them also on specialized alternative lenders, what we call niche lenders. Okay, so those are like, for example, you have Mark Funding, for example. So those are players that they really have experience when it comes to funding specifically cargo van businesses or delivery businesses in general. Okay, because when I was talking about banks and credit unions or online lenders, you have to go to those lenders and you have to go to their department that takes care of equipment financing. But there are lenders who everything they do from Monday through Friday just financing cargo vans and business and sprinter vans. Also, you might want to think about micro lenders. There are some micro lenders who can actually help you. For example, we have Kiva. You can raise funds on Kiva. You can raise funds through Action also for your cargo van. So this is totally possible. And one thing you need to understand here is that the requirements and the length of time, like how long it takes for you to be approved or to even raise funds on those micro lending platforms, this time is very, very long. So you got to be patient there. You got to be really, really patient. The next thing I want you to do here is to actually get your documents together. Okay, so if you have a cargo van and you have a new business, and at a minimum, there are a lot of things that you have to really get ready, right? You need to have, if you have the vehicle already, if you have the van already, then you have to have all documentation that relates to the van itself, because the lender is going to ask you if you are applying for a cargo van business loan and you actually already have a car. The lender will be like, okay, this could be a potential sign for collateralization. In other words, they might be tempted to actually to use the car as to use it as collateral, okay, or at least to require you to use it as collateral. But this is just this is just one scenario among many. But when we talk about the paperwork you need to submit, things like 3 months of business bank statements, okay, a copy of your driver's license or state ID, a voided check from your business accounts, for example, okay, proof of business ownership, So this is what I was just talking about. I was talking about earlier. If you are a single member LLC or you are a multi-member LLC, then the lender wants to see this sort of distributive arrangement to see if you are at 33% or 40% or 50% or whatnot, and it has to be clear in the articles of organization or articles of incorporation, depending on the legal structure of your cargo van business. If you're an LLC, LP, if you're a C corporation, S corporation, or whatnot. Okay. And you also, the lender want to see month to date transactions. Tax returns also. When we talk about tax returns, we're speaking about your personal tax returns at this point, or if you have been in business for less than 6 months or 9 months and you have already filed a tax return, the lender will want to see the tax return, because again, it's all about verifying income. It's all about ascertaining income, right? Income or revenue for that matter for your cargo van new business. And also be clear, you need to have a business plan, boss. Like, at least you need to have a document that explains how you are going to monetize your operation, what loads you are going to go after. Are you going to find loads on load boards? Are you going to hire a freight dispatcher? Are you going to hire a freight broker? Are you going to work through, like, you need to tell, are you going to find are you going to source your own loads? Those are really important. Okay, so it's important to really also be clear. You need to have a business plan. You need to you need to also mention your business licenses. And I'm not even talking about insurance. This is also quintessential. One thing I want to say here is that you also might be you might need to pledge you might need to have a personal guarantee. Like, you might need to pledge your personal wealth as collateral. It really depends on the lender. It depends on how much you want also, because if you want a smaller amount, then lenders are pretty comfortable with that. But if you start asking like high 5 digits or even 6 digits for your cargo van, the cargo van new business, lenders will be like, okay, you know what, this is a little risky here. We have a new cargo van business that has not actually proven itself, and now they want to this company wants to be funded real fast, so they might ask you to provide a PG, personal guarantee. So if you provide that, then it's fine. Okay, and the last thing I want you to do here is to apply. So usually it's just a lot better to apply at the branch. Sometimes if you are looking to buy a new cargo van or used cargo van for that matter, you might have to go to the dealership. Okay, you might have to sign all paperwork at the dealership. So this is a great opportunity to actually ask questions before applying. You always want to ask questions. You always want to gather intel. You want to gather intel before you apply, so you know whether or not your chance that your approval odds are still intact. They're still high, because it's kind of funny when you start talking to, let's say, a loan rep at a bank branch or credit union branch. Based on the conversation, you can tell whether or not your application file for a cargo van new business loan has any chances when it comes to passing muster. Okay, so this is important to really apply at the branch. Do not apply online, even though you have a lot of lenders nowadays who want you to apply online. You don't have to apply online, no. And you can apply over the phone if you want to, but it's just always better to apply in person, or in person can be at the branch, like the bank's branch, or at the nearest bank branch, or the nearest credit union branch, or apply at a dealership where you have you have all the information. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Today's conversation, I was just talking to you about cargo van, how to actually get a loan for a new business. So overall, just make sure you determine how much you need. Okay, make sure that you know how much you can borrow, how much you can, you will have the revenue to repay whatever you are borrowing. Okay, you want to check your personal credit and business credit if you have one. Your business credit scores. Explore the lenders that are in your vicinity, because cargo van business is definitely geography, is definitely local. Okay, and you need to be ready to pledge to have a personal guarantee, to pledge a personal guarantee if needed. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay Marvelous.